My husband Keith was 36 years old when he was diagnosed with Wegener's granulomatosis back in 2011. We were small business owners working to grow a farming and ranching operation alongside our 3 boys, Clay, Cole, and Carson. They were 11, 8, and 4 years old at the time. It was a very uncertain time for our family.
Hi, my name is Keith Hickel, and I was diagnosed with a form of vasculitis known as Wegener's in 2011. My symptoms began in 2010, around the 1st of November. It started with a plugged ear and progressed into just kind of really odd pain. I ended up having sinus surgery. After my sinus surgery, my symptoms continued. I then ended up having oral surgery, and again, it did not help the symptoms at all. Shortly after that oral surgery, I ended up with facial paralysis, which led to an emergency mastoidectomy, which was a fairly invasive surgery of the ear. My symptoms continued after that and progressed, and I would say mainly a lot of pain and head pressure at that point. I was seeing all sorts of doctors for various things. In late March of 2011, my symptoms had progressed terrible, and I ended up coughing up a lot of blood, and I was finally admitted into the hospital. After being admitted to the hospital, the first few days was a series of different tests as they continued to try to diagnose me. They decided to do a lung biopsy on me, and 2 days after the biopsy, my test results came back and I was diagnosed with vasculitis, a rare autoimmune disease. I was admitted to the hospital on a Monday, and by the end of the week, I was diagnosed with Wegener's. After being in the hospital for nearly a month, I was released. I came home and really was not getting any better. My symptoms were stabilized, but my overall health was still declining pretty bad. I was paralyzed in my left hand and arm. Left side of my face was paralyzed. I lost 50 pounds and was really feeling like I was not making any progress at all. About a month after being released from the hospital and my health continuing to decline, Brooke reached out to the Vasculitis Foundation looking for some help and maybe some answers.
Giving up's not an option because a cowboy don't quit.
I think it's amazing the way that God connects our lives in the ways that He does. The week that Keith was admitted to the hospital, a family friend reached out to us and she said, "I think Keith might just have a form of vasculitis." We knew that their daughter had been diagnosed with vasculitis years before and had really gone through a rough road, was still struggling, and Keith and I both went, "No, that can't be it." I think we were still in disbelief and just thinking, oh, this is just some small thing. We're just gonna find out that this is just some little thing that has gotten out of hand, and he's gonna be out of the hospital in a few days and be all better. When Keith received his diagnosis the end of that week, she was the first one to reach out to me. Her name is Vicki, and she put us in touch with the Vasculitis Foundation. It was that connection that God made with a friend that led us to contact the Vasculitis Foundation, that then in turn sent Keith to the Mayo Clinic, and that's where his path to recovery really started. And we could see God's hand in all of that.
We were directed to a doctor at the Mayo Clinic, and within 1 to 2 weeks of contacting them, I had an appointment scheduled at the Mayo Clinic.
Keith's first visit to the Mayo Clinic was June of 2011, and this many years later, his care continues to be overseen by Dr. Specs at the Mayo Clinic.
During that week at the Mayo Clinic, the doctor that I was seeing consulted with other colleagues that he'd been working with on vasculitis. They came up with a treatment plan for me, and we were sent home with new hope that we were going to get control of this disease. It was almost immediate, the change in my health with the new plan. After returning from the Mayo Clinic and meeting Dr. Specs, there was a lot of renewed hope with the plan that he'd put us on. He'd warned me that the next several months were going to be very tough, and they were. But we did have a lot of hope and a lot of excitement as I could see that my body was starting to recuperate.
After Keith's diagnosis, I immediately started searching for information. And of course, I was looking for something positive, something encouraging, something that we could kind of hang on to. And there really wasn't much out there. What I did read was discouraging, and it just left me feeling a bit hopeless. Over 10 years later, there are so many good stories out there of recovery, people returning to normal life, and I know that that is in large part due to the work that the Vasculitis Foundation does. They give patients and their families hope for the future.
That first year, we were still trying to run our businesses, operate the ranch, and run our construction company, and it was very difficult, and I was tired a lot. I was sore. I couldn't physically do the things that I was used to doing, but little by little, I was able to make progress, and my body was healing, and I was able to get back to my full and normal life.
His outlook for the future, for good health in the future, and for a continued healthy and active life is wonderful.
My life today, according to me, I feel like I have a very normal and full life. I'm a busy person. I'm physically able to do everything that I want to do, that anybody else could do. I truly feel like I don't have any limitations and that I am no different than everybody else my age living life.
Here we are over 10 years after Keith's diagnosis, and sometimes I just step back and watch him go and think, oh my goodness, I can't even keep up with this guy. He's busier today than he's ever been, but in a good way. He lives a fulfilling life doing the things that bring him so much joy, and I'm so grateful for that.
Looking back, I really feel like it was the connection with the Vasculitis Foundation and the contacts they gave us at the Mayo Clinic that put us on the path to recovery.
The Vasculitis Foundation didn't just help in his healing, but also in the healing of our family. Before and after Keith's diagnosis, we were on the receiving end of so much love and kindness and generosity that it was actually really hard to accept. And I remember thinking after he was diagnosed and we knew this was going to be a tough road ahead, that once we were back on our feet, we were going to do what we could to give back. We wanted to help other people who may be in the same or a similar situation to ours feel the same sort of support and hope that we did. And that's how the first spaghetti western dinner was formed. On behalf of our family, I want to say thank you to the Vasculitis Foundation for their work. As I look back over the years, back to the time after Keith's diagnosis, when he had gone from the strong leader of our family to unsure of whether he was even going to be there the next day or the next week, to the person that he is now. He's healthy, he's strong, he's enjoying life more than he ever has. I'm so grateful for the work of the Vasculitis Foundation and what they've brought back to not only Keith, but to our entire family.